Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Front Office U podcast. My name is Ryan Carney. Excited to be hosting today's episode. We have a very special guest joining us on this edition of Front Office U Friday. But before we introduce him, I am joined by a great co-host of this podcast. Ryan Menny is on here with me today to host it. Ryan, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Today is a preseason game for the Seattle Storm, so we're getting right into Storm basketball. But overall, still want to talk about some hockey here today.
Yeah, love that. Always something going on over there at Climate Pledge Arena over in Seattle, and awesome to hear that things are moving along for you as well. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and introduce our guest today. It is James Lipscomb, Hockey Operations Manager for the New Jersey Devils. Really excited to have James on. He and I got connected a couple years ago and have been in kind of constant communication ever since. Just kind of talking about what's going on in the world of sports and keeping an eye on the Devils, of course, too. So, James, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us today.
No, of course. I'm looking forward to this when I got the invite because it's like you're talking with friends. It's like it's one thing to talk to two people that like you've never like spoken to before, haven't built a pre-relationship. It's like, oh wait, I know these guys. Like I know
Yeah.
what these guys are doing. You guys are also doing big things in the industry, so it's like, oh, this is like a fireside chat type of thing. I was like, oh, this is fun. This breaks up the day a little bit.
Yeah, let's get that fireplace all lit up, nice and cozy for us, and settle into the conversation today. And let's kind of start with your role now, James. I know the hockey operations world can be a lot going on. Honestly, it's a very kind of broad term. There's a lot that goes into the hockey ops world, but for you specifically, I know you've had a couple different roles with the Devils, but in your role now as hockey operations manager, why don't you share a little bit for our listeners that may not be familiar? What are some of the responsibilities and ways in which you kind of divide up your time and your responsibilities? In your role, working for the Devils.
So what's interesting about this role, and I think it's unique to being with the Devils, it's hockey operations manager, so it's a lot of hockey ops, but at the same time, because the comms and PR team work hand in hand with hockey ops, I get to be hybrid, which I think is really cool. So I get to dip my toe into the PR stuff. Like I'm sure if you watch back the Sunny introduction press conference, you just see my hand holding the mic and passing the mic to people at the front because that's part of like the PR gig. So some of the stuff I do, it depends on whether we're home or away. But like a game day, it's helping out at the credential table, getting our media, the referees, the officials, off ice officials like into the building, checked in, facilitating that type of stuff, making copies, running stats, pregame, intermission, postgame. So a lot of it on a game day is almost like a networking opportunity for me, where it's you get a little interaction with the visiting team's PR staff, like 3 to 4 times in a day. Like get to like introduce myself to whoever the GM is or whoever the highest ranking person is on that trip when I bring them intermission stats. So from that standpoint, the role is a lot of networking and relationship building because you're working with the visiting team throughout the week. I'm working with the head coaching staff. I'm working with the GM, the AGMs, the scouts, especially the pro scouts. That's the biggest thing I think for me that's changed from being the facilitator of hockey operations and information to getting the promotion to manager hockey ops. It's a lot more dealing with the pro scouts and helping them along the way where it's like, hey, where are you guys going next week? Like, let me make sure I can get you into the building. There's no issues. Okay, we're good. I know where you're going. Hey, do we need coverage on this team? We haven't seen this team in a while. Can one of you alter your schedule in the next like week or two to go see Cleveland on the AHL side? So it's a lot of like overseeing things and then also just like on the ground level, hey, what do we need in the office? Hey, what do we need? Especially like right now, we're working on year-end meetings, we're working on the draft. So it's like, hey, what's going on late April today? Also, 2 months from now, we're doing something else. We're already talking about the start of next season and preseason and training camp and stuff. So it's a balancing juggle act of how many different things can you do. I have post-its all over my desk. I do draft emails where I just write down the to-do list. So it's one of those things where, and it's funny. I look back at my job description because I have the original printout, and it's got like 18 different things on it, and I'm like, if I updated it now, it'd probably have like 35 to 40 because
Yeah.
that's just the nature of the role. The position didn't exist before I got here. The whole facilitator, hockey information operations thing, and then it grew into its own, and it was just like the different things that I inherited to do role wise. So it's a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, you just, how do I describe this? Every day is different, and I think that's probably what I love the most about the job. It's on game days I get to do the PR aspect and like post game meet and greets. Like I'm the one that like would walk like a Nico or a Bratter to meet with the fans after. It's like you're being there for hockey ops, but like people see you in the suit and they're like, "Are you security?" And I'm like, "I'm flattered, but no. I work here. I'm making sure like nothing crazy happens at this event." And it goes smoothly. But it's like those are the different things. You get that player interaction by being on the PR side. I get to be in the meetings for scouting and for draft and for trade deadline. So like I have my like fingers on the pulse of what's going on within the entire hockey operations side of the team, and that's like a dream job. Like and being this is the team I grew up watching. It's just like it checked all the boxes.
Yeah, 100%. I thought you said a lot of really good things, a lot of things that I can relate to in my role in hockey ops too, prioritizing, understanding what do I need to do right now and what do I
Mm-hmm.
need to be kind of thinking ahead on, few months or, sometimes even years down the line of where is kind of the vision for this team and how can I help just kind of make all those things happen. But the other thing you talked about was just the networking component. And I think that's so important because I think for a lot of people, this podcast is kind of for people that are early on in their career trying to break in. And, you think of networking as trying to, get your foot in the door and get those opportunities, but it even is networking after you're in those positions and building those relationships, strengthening them, continuing to maintain good communication with those that are working in the industry, because that's a lot of times how you can continue to level up and progress your career, just as you've done in your career, James. So really appreciate you kind of sharing that. And we'll kind of dive into those things as we get further along in the podcast too. But I want to kind of take a few steps back and talk about your background as well, James. And I know sports is, a huge passion for you. You mentioned you mentioned that you grew up rooting for the Devils, but I know you follow so many different sports and love being just a fan as well. So, what were some of those sports that you were involved with as you played and watched when you were younger? And maybe who are some of those people in your family that really kind of impacted you in terms of developing that passion for sports?
So I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and like everyone played Little League at some point. Whether so, I played Little League in the Bronx, like Castle Hill Little League, from I think 8 to 11. Thought it was gonna be the next big thing. I was like, oh my god, like cool, I'm gonna be the next Bernie Williams. And then that dream like crashed out. I think like at 11, it was just like you can't hit 60 miles an hour. Like you can't hit somebody throwing 60. You're not just gonna progress. And I was like, all right, cool, that's great. But so I was doing Little League. I was doing like basketball, just like rec league stuff, just like YMCA type things, like Gauchos, which is in the Bronx, just staying active. And those were the two things I honed in on. We got to high school, was never good enough to make the basketball team, but learned, oh, wait, like you can be a manager of the basketball team. And I was like, oh, wait, we can do that? Cool. So I was manager of the varsity basketball team. And I would say that that's probably what jump started the sports career. And it was I think my parents were very honest, like growing up, where they were just like, "Hey, cool." Like my dad was 6 feet, my mom like 5'4", and they're just like, "Hey, listen, the way the genetics work, you'd have to be Allen Iverson, period. Like you'd have to be AI, you'd have to be Muggsy Bogues to even have a shot." They're like, and I remember this like growing up. My parents would be like, "Hey," I'd be like, "Hey, I want to go to the basketball camp. I want to go to five-star basketball camp," which I eventually ended up working at. So I was like, "Okay, well, I got here in some capacity." But I remember my mom being like, "Hey, how much is the camp?" And I was like, "It's 500 for the week. It's 5 days." And she was just like, "No." She's like, "The only way I'm paying 500 for this is if you can guarantee that you're going to make the JV team or the varsity team next season." I was just like, "That's not real." I was like, "That I know there's no way a 5 day camp is going to make me that much better. There's just no way." So it was like, okay, cool. And then that's kind of where the like maybe I need to find a different path into sports because my parents were real. They were just like, "Hey," I remember my dad doing this, and it was humbling and it was also real. It was just like, "Hey, how many teams were there in the NBA?" And I was like, "Okay." I named a number. It's like, "How many players on a roster?" I named a number. He's like, "Multiply that." He goes, "Okay, cool. How many people are there in the world?" And I was like, "I think I see where you're going with this." And he's just like, "That's how many people get to be in that league at any given time, and it's a global sport." He's like, "So unless you feel like you're truly in that 1% and you're going to make that commitment to try and be in that 1%, find another way." And I was like, "Oh." He's like, "I'm not saying you can't play basketball or play rec league or play baseball, whatever." He's like, "But be realistic about the journey." And I was like, "Wow, that's incredibly insightful." And then that was where I was like, "Wait a second, I think I can write." At that time, Stuart Scott was really big on ESPN. It was just like, wait, okay, I want to be the next Stuart Scott then. If I can't play in the NBA, I want to like cover it. And then that's where the journalism side of things started to develop. And then high school was like, okay, doing the journalism thing, tried out for the team. I had a concussion during tryouts senior year. And it was like, okay, cool, wait, you can be a manager, still get all the perks, still got to like not go to class sometimes because we had a road game. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like I'm still getting everything. That's fantastic. That worked. And then that was like a new path of like, wait, there's other parts of sports that I just didn't really pay attention to and know existed. And then I just started to follow that path of like, okay, be a manager in high school. Almost did it in college at Quinnipiac. And then like 2 weeks before going to Quinnipiac, I was like, I just want my freshman year to just be normal. Like I don't want to like mess that up and be committed just to the basketball team. So it didn't take that path, but it was just like the behind the scenes aspect of it and writing for it and seeing the PR and the comms aspect. It was like, oh, this is interesting. I can stay quite literally next to the court and depend on the role on the court and not necessarily be dribbling or shooting the puck.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's so awesome that your parents kind of gave you that perspective as well and saying like, hey, we love that you have this passion for sports, but find your way into, work in it and have a long standing career, and kind of be realistic with yourself of, what are you truly passionate about? Where can you make your impact? And I think that's awesome that you're able to still kind of find that. And you mentioned that you attended Quinnipiac. So would love for you to just kind of break down like that decision-making process. Like when you were in high school, what was it about Quinnipiac that kind of stood out and made it, kind of that right fit in terms of where you wanted to go to school?
So again, you guys are my boys. I'll be completely honest, and I don't really ever share this story too much because people are like, there's no way that's real. It's senior or it's junior year. I think it's senior year, and everyone's applying to colleges and whatnot. And I went to Fordham Prep in the Bronx. It's on Fordham University's campus, so it's like really preppy high school where they would convince admission counselors to come to us, and they would just be like, hey, like you know. Columbia is here from 1:30 to 2. There's an info session. Quinnipiac's here 2 to 2:30 and whatnot. So my guidance counselor, shout out Erica Keogh, who's still at Fordham Prep. One day she's like, "Oh, you want to do journalism?" And I'm like, "Yep." She's like, "There's a school, Quinnipiac." I'm like, never heard of it. Hands me the brochure. The brochure is just like the school, and there's a mountain called the Sleeping Giant like across the street, and I'm like, this is you're not being for real. Like, I'm like, the Syracuse exists, Fordham University exists, Quinnipiac's like just try it, and I'm like, wait, I'm like looking at the schedule, I'm like, I didn't want to go to that class anyway, and I'm like, oh, perfect, like this is the perfect. Oh, biology, I didn't really want to go to that anyway. I'm like, oh, cool, we're gonna go further in education. At the end of that information session, the representative goes, if any of you apply right now, I'll waive the application fee. I was like, oh, wait, timeout. I'm going to save $50? And then I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to tell my mom, I saved $50. That's 50 you should just give me for lunch now. 50 extra on top of whatever. I just saved us 50. I applied to a school. I think it's good. The woman who gets paid to be our guidance counselor said it's good. I'm going to do that. And I'll tell you what happened. So they waived the thing. I apply. I get in. There's an admitted students weekend. I think like 3 weeks later. We're in March now, and I go for the weekend. I go and my mom hands me like a blank check, and she's like, "Hey, it's up to you. No pressure. If you like it, pursue it. Like fill out the check, signature, like fill out the form, whatever." I think I was there for 48 hours. Within the first 30 minutes of being there, I was like, "Yep, this feels right." I like called her. I was like, "Hey, just letting you know, and I'll do it on Sunday, but like I'm having a ball. Like everything feels right. The journalism school looks amazing. The campus looks amazing. I'm in. I'm in." And it was just like the rest is like history. It was like greatest 4 years of my life. And I'm like, okay, cool, no regrets. And it was like the journalism program was strong. It gave me the tools I needed. And unfortunately, there are some heinous clips of me trying to be a student journalist. Like my resume tape is somewhere on YouTube. And I remember when I got to MLB Network, like someone found it. It's like in the middle of a commercial break, we're just like sitting there, and all of a sudden I look up at the screen and I hear my voice. And I'm like somebody in graphics is like playing my resume tape, and I'm like, how dare you? This kid was unpolished. This kid didn't really know what he was doing in like 2010, 2011. I was like, what are we doing? I was like, but he looked good. He looked good as he was doing it, at least. All right, come on now. It was just it was a great time, but it made it made sense. It's one of those things where I got in other schools, but I never wondered like, what if I'd gone to Penn State? Like, what if I'd gone to this other school? It's just like, no, Quinnipiac felt right from day one, and I never had to play that what if game.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. All the way through, just kind of, saying, all right, I'll give this a chance, and then applying and getting in and getting there on the official visits day and everything. Like, I feel like so often, once you kind of step foot on a campus, it just kind of is that feel more so than anything. And awesome that it worked out. And like you said, that journalism program, like, I used to work in the ECAC. I know, like, anytime I would
Mhm.
go up there in the press box at Quinnipiac, that thing with the press row was filled out. There's student journalists everywhere. Even in a sport like hockey, for sure, they definitely really support it and love it. So awesome for you to be able to share on that. And I know you got a lot of really good experiences, kind of starting at Quinnipiac. So I'll transition it over here to Ryan to kind of ask some follow-ups on some of your early sports experience here as well.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Well, James, we gotta go back on the MLB Network stunt. But before that, you had to have those resume stunts. So what was that experience like for you over at the WTNH News Network as well as Q30, then leading up into your time at NBC and MLB?
So it's interesting, and Ryan hinted at it, and you both know because you're in the industry, and I think especially now for young boys and girls, like the programs are so far ahead of where they were when we all went to school, and especially for me having graduated college, Jesus, 11, like 15, yeah, in 2011, 15 years ago, it's insane. That it was, oh, there's a student run network, and it's like, hey, if you want your own show, you can get your own show. You just need people to be behind the cameras and stuff and fill it out. So this show, at Q30. It was a show called Bobcat Blitz. It was basically like combining Around the Horn and PTI. We're just a panel, and you're just asking questions and bumping one person off per thing. So almost exactly like Around the Horn, to a degree. And I remember being interested in that freshman year, and then just like networking with the person, be like, "Hey, I love this concept. Love to be on the show." It's like, "Hey, you can be on the show, but part of being on the show is like you will help build the set, you will help break down the set." So it allowed me to be able to learn how to strike a set, how to put the camera, how to do the lighting, how to make sure, like how to white balance things that out of the classroom I was getting like real world experience. So I got to being on that show once, and then it was like, oh, this is working. Cool. You're on the show sophomore year. Junior year was also on the show. Senior year, they let me run the show because everyone had graduated. And they were like, hey, we're going to hand the keys to the show to you. So now you get to EP the show, you get to host the show. And I was like, I've made it in life. I've got my own college show. I run back to the dorm and be like, guys, that's me. That's me. I'm that guy. Felt cool. Way cooler than I thought I was because like nobody notices you on campus. Nobody's watching that channel at all. So that parlays into that first internship being at the local news station. Now, again, hidden fact, because I would never write this anywhere. My actual first internship that I got before I got the WTNH one was for the Maury show. Like that was the real first one because in my head I was like, this is the show I actually want to work on. This just seems fun. I'm like, there's no way the story. I'm like, there's just no way. But I want to be on that set. I just want to be a PA on it. I don't even want to produce. I just want to see what's going on. So I actually got that first, and then I think like 3 days before I was supposed to start, I heard back from WTNH, and it was just like, oh no, okay, wait, the joke's over. I want to actually be in sports. I want to be like on television, maybe be a sports reporter slash anchor. Had to let the Mari show go on. That's the regret of like the what if. I'm like, what if I was on that show? Get to WTNH. That's a once a week thing. Like let's say on Tuesdays. What I thought was really interesting about that experience is that they almost gave me the keys to the building in the sense that like, hey, here's the games we're covering tonight. So old fashioned in the sense that this was 2011, so it's a different time. They're like, cool, put the cassette into the VCR, hit record when it starts, and I'm like, now I'm like, this is not even real. We have computers for this now. We're not hitting on cassettes, and I had to make sure the other cassette was blank. This whole like runaround that like in 2026 sounds insane, but it was like, okay, cool. The Red Sox, because we're in Southern Connecticut, so Red Sox are popular, Yankees are popular, Mets are popular. So we're covering all three, and it's like, okay, watch the game. You'll build the highlight package. I'm going to dinner right now. I'll be back. And I'm like, I just started. Like that's oh really? You trust me? Oh, that Quinnipiac like that shield is helping right now because you okay cool. Like come back and it's like okay cool. I'm like here are the plays. Let's do. You want 3 plays? I got 3 plays for you that pretty much sum up the game. He's like okay cool. Now write the shot sheet. And I'm like oh I get to do all of this. And he's like yeah I trust you and I'm gonna read it back on air. I was like okay I'm getting the real world experience. And I remember that first time being so nervous and watching the clips and like I'm the one putting them together. And I'm like, here's the shot sheet. So and so hits home run, makes it 7-4. And then that first time it happened, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like that rush of just, okay, I watched it, I edited it, I wrote it, they read it, this went perfect. I was like, this is so cool. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And then it almost happened. Like, you do the resume tape and you think like everything's going to go well. I think I graduated coming out of the recession. I think it was like a year or two after the recession and realizing the market was shrinking in the sense where a lot of the sports jobs were almost non-existent. Or if you wanted to do sports, you also had to do local news in these places like Grand Junction, Colorado is probably my favorite place that I've never been to, but like I've heard because it was something in college of just like you're not starting in New York, you're not starting in LA, you're not starting in Chicago, you're going to be in like Peoria, Illinois, or Grand Junction, Colorado. 2 places that I feel like I need to visit as somebody who majored in journalism, just to say, excuse me, just say I went there because they were staples of like these are the markets where you're going to start, you're going to hone your craft, you're going to build. So I never got there. Truthfully, I've never had to leave the tri-state area, which is scary because that was like ingrained into my mind and all of our classmates. You're going to have to leave there in order to become successful. And I'm just like, not intentionally defiant, but I'm like, wow, I've never left New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I found all these networks. And I'm like, okay, I think it kind of worked, which just speaks to the theme too of like the networking. And sometimes I think we have to get really lucky. But I think being thrown into the fire at that internship, being thrown into the fire at the student-run news station, I think was helpful because it was just like, hey, if you mess up, it's okay. I mean, it's live television, like, but it's like this isn't like open heart surgery. It's like nobody died. It's like we'll fix it. It's okay. We'll have another show tomorrow. And it's just like getting that experience, I think, was paramount, and it's helped me 18, 19 years later where it's like, okay, like we're gonna mess up, but it is okay. Like it's not as bad as it seems. And that's like one of those mantras in my head of just like, okay, mess ups happen. We will never do a show that is 100%. Someone will find something wrong or we'll mess up in the first 30 seconds and like, cool, let's just be good the rest of the way.
I love that little part at the end where it's like you're gonna mess up and things happen. And I think regardless of of our jobs, especially in sports industry, like things will falter, but it's how you recover, it's how you respond to it. And how would you kind of describe your career in journalism as responding to these situations? Like especially over your time at NBC Sports and MLB Network, what were those kind of big fires that you had to extinguish, but then also turned out just fine in the end?
So again, every stop I have like a signature funny but like 5 alarm fire story. And the NBC Sports one, I think to this day is still the thing that haunts me and lives rent free in my mind. I don't remember which Olympics it was, but it was we're announcing like the different teams for hockey, and we're in the control room, and I'm sitting next to the graphics operator, and we're going through the different tri codes, and it's like, okay, USA, yeah, Canada. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. Slovenia and Slovakia are two tri codes and flags that I burned into my retina now because it'll never happen again. So the person typed it. In my haste, didn't double check it. So we had the flags inverted where Slovenia's was for Slovakia and Slovakia was for Slovenia. we get to that segment, we unveil the teams in the different groups. And for those people who are going to watch this and listen to this, there's a red phone in control rooms. That red phone, I kid you not, I think maybe rang twice in the 9 years I was at NBC um, in the control room. That red phone like blared as soon as we had that segment, and I was just like, "What happened? What did like?" I'm like, "Can it be me? We're good, we're good." And then like the person in the front row like turns around and looks, and it's just like, "Can you pull up the flag for Slovenia?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" And it's just like, again, this is a global moment. This isn't even like a just everyone in Stanford seeing this or everyone in the continental U.S. It's like this is a global moment, and at that point, the first thing I did was I ran to Twitter. I'm like, did anyone catch that? And there were a couple of tweets of just like, oh, how could they get this wrong? And in my head, I'm like, it's very easy to get wrong. Like Slovenia, Slovakia, there's an S, there's an L, the V versus the K. I'm like, it could easily happen. That's a thing, and it's so tragic and unfortunate. But what I learned from that was it's the mistakes are going to happen, but it's very much just double check your work. Just take the extra 5 to 10 seconds to just verify that everything is good. And that's where I think TV versus what I'm doing now has helped me to do. Like TV sped my brain up, where it's just like sometimes you have to make a decision on things. You have to write out things, and we're in the middle of a highlight, and you have to change the scoreboard copy, and you've got 30 seconds to write it. Also, hope that the anchor has time to read it, and it's just like, okay, cool. That's what you have to do. You have 30 seconds now. It's just like nobody's asking me to make a decision within 30 seconds with the tables. It's like, hey, here's this thing. You've got to the end of the week, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. I can do this in the next 2 hours because that's still how my brain is wired to be sped up. And it's like, okay, cool. You have the length of a commercial break. You have 2.5 to 3 minutes to get this right. And it's like, okay, cool. But again, it's the mistakes happen. I will never forget that one. Anytime I watch sports, and I'm sure you guys can relate, I watch like when I watch game press things in person or watch things, when I see people mess up, I feel so bad. Or when I see the lower third pop up and it's incorrect, I'm just like, I've been there. And I was there for an Olympic moment, and I get it. And it's just like, hey, I hope that person understands the mistakes happen. It will not define you. Brush it off. Accept the jokes that are going to come, because everyone that's in that room with you will not let you forget it. And you just hope that the next person that gets burned, that it happens in the next couple of hours. That way the attention can be shifted off of you. But it's just like we're all going to make mistakes. It's relative on a scale of like, was your mistake a 1? Was your mistake a 10? And that's just like, but everyone's going to do it. And now we just live in an era where, unfortunately, like those things get clipped off and they end up on awful announcing. And it's just like, okay, cool. My moment. It ended. Like it ended after a couple of tweets. It didn't make it to any type of blog. And I was like, okay, this is fine. Nobody's more upset about this mistake than I am. And I hold myself to a high standard, and it's just like, okay, cool. It's just eventually it's like, okay, it can't affect you. You're gonna make mistakes. Just make sure that you can limit your mistakes.
I love how you amplify kind of the your biggest motivator, but you're also your biggest critic in some of these situations where in the moment it just feels like the whole world is looking at you, but give it some time and you kind of realize, all right, the only person who is really looking at this as in depthly and as in tuned about it was myself. And if I can give myself the grace to move on and kind of learn from that mistake, then I think we're all good from there. And talking about kind of the fast pace from broadcasting and then over to the Devils. So I wanted to transition over back to Ryan to kind of talk a little bit more about that transition from being in broadcasting and journalism to then making your transition over to NHL with the Devils.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, and appreciate what you shared on that too, James, because I think handling adversity and knowing how to respond from it, it can be challenging, but like you said, now sometimes we have that sympathy of like, oh, that person's going through it, I know what that feeling's like. How can I go and support them too, even on that flip side? So Appreciate you sharing that story. And yeah, I mean, hey, that's an easy mistake to make. I'm here with you. I'm here to say right now that that's a mistake that I could see myself making too. But you're right. Like, just
Ah,
double check those things and move on from it and learn from it. So, with that being said, want to kind of dive back into some of what you touched on at the top of the podcast with your role now with the Devils. And I think when other people kind of come to me and ask me about like the hockey ops world, a lot of times the two kind of non-negotiables I share with them that you have to have is communication. You need to be a great communicator, and organization. You have to be incredibly organized to be able to, get your task done. Like for you, James, like how would you say that those two, I would say traits or abilities, how does that impact your kind of everyday life? Because you mentioned that there's so much going on. So for communication and organization, like how do you kind of manage those two things and use them to your advantage in your role?
I think those two things go hand in hand. I think to your point, they are non-negotiables, like especially in this role. And you, the two of you can relate too, where you have timelines for everything, and it's prioritizing what needs to get done today, what needs to get done this week, what can I do if I tackle all of those things? Can I get to that other thing that's due in a month? I think organizationally, it starts where like year one and especially like the first couple months, people are on top of me like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And it's me being annoyed because I'm like, yeah, I'm on top of it. Here's the post-it right there in the corner that shows you that. And it's as you start to perform well, the follow-ups start to decrease where it's just like, okay, I know you're good for this. I'm not going to ask anymore. And then that's where you build the trust where it's like, okay, if you're on top of your stuff and you're organized, I'm going to leave you alone. And then I'm just going to trust that you did it. So then it rebuilds that pressure on yourself where it's just like, hey, am I hitting all my deadlines? The person's no longer looking over my shoulder. I'm looking over my own shoulder now in terms of being organized and following up. And then I think what that blends into communication wise, and it's one of the things my manager Kate Madigan brought up after year one. Because I'll be completely transparent. Year one, I was like, oh man, I'm amazing. I don't think I did anything bad. I was like, this is great. Can't wait to see what she's gonna tell me. And if she watches this, she's gonna laugh at this part. One of the things she wrote down that has constantly stuck with me was she brought up communication. I was like, okay, what do you mean? She's like, for year two, I want you to look around with the different people that you communicate with. Figure out their communication styles now this year. Some people want subject, verb, predicate. That's it. They don't want to know how you did it. They don't want to know how the sausage is made when you communicate them. That's all they want. She's like, for me, I want you to tell me that you did it. How did it go? Give me everything. Give me the 500-word essay. For other people, give them 5 words. So it was like, oh, you know what? I never thought of something like that. I thought of, I'm just going to do my style, which is to tell you everything so that there are no follow-ups. And then now I've like, especially now going into season 5 next year, it's just like, okay, wait, I now know people because I've spent so much time with everyone, what their communication style is for receiving information, which has helped me be like, okay, this person wants this. Okay, subject, verb, predicate. Cool, done. And I'll type out the thing on my phone and then I'll reread it. And then it's like, how many of these words can I lose? Like, what is unnecessary in this? Do I really need those adjectives? Did you do it? Yes, it's done. Like, and sometimes that's all it is. And it's just like, okay, cool. It's now I know. And even typing in the emails and whatnot, or just verbal, it's like me thinking, take a beat. All right, James finished the job. Okay, that's all you wanted? Yeah, cool. That's all you wanted. You let me know, and I like pause. Like, did you want more? Did you want the Snyder cut? I could tell you everything that happened. If you don't want that, great. But it's like I have that, so it's learning. It was learning those two things. I think adding on to what you said about organization and communication, I think being a flexible person in this industry, I think is paramount. A lot of us miss, birthdays, vacations, just social life. Yes, there's a balance, but I think we all understand that. Like sometimes the calendar is dictated for us during certain stretches where it's just like, especially for hockey, where it's we know we're locked in, especially starting this coming season. Season starts in September. It's like, okay, cool. September through June, I effectively like free agency. So September through July 1st or 2nd, it's like I'm beholden to what the NHL has told me. Like we're gonna play games and we're gonna do this, and it's like building things around that. So for people trying to get into this, I think flexibility is paramount. Like everyone's going through the same thing, so it's like understand you are going to miss things. I've missed birthday parties. I've missed bachelor parties. It's like my close friends understand. There's gonna be some people who don't understand that, and they're like they'll take it personally. And it's just like look around. No, first of all, no one in the NHL gets married from September through June. It's like you can't unless you want no one showing up at your wedding, or fewer people showing up at your wedding. It's just like especially if you're on the hockey operations side, it's like okay, this you can't do that. It's like even for me, like I'm engaged now. It was are we doing July? Are we doing August? It was just like those are the two because everything else is a actual conflict. So I think being flexible helps, and then just is necessary. And then I think being a decent person, somebody who you want to be around, whether the team or is on a 6 game win streak or a 6 game losing streak, being somebody that people want to be around, especially this industry. We're not working 9 to 5. We're sometimes doing 9 to 9. We're doing 10 to 10. We're doing. I remember last year we went to the game. Simone Nemec scored the overtime goal. I think that was 2 overtimes. So it's like that day started for everyone at 10 a.m. That day ended, especially with the post game press conferences and whatnot. That day ended about 2 a.m. And it's like, and guess what? There's practice the next day. It's like we're coming back at 10 o'clock. And it's just like that's the grind, that's the fun stuff. But it's just like, who do I want to be stuck in an elevator with? Do I want to be stuck in an elevator metaphorically with you for 12 hours because you're gonna make this 12 hours go by smoothly, as opposed to you're like, oh man, oh it's such a long day, and you look down, it's like we've been here for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, and that's why I try to tell people, like all the younger people, it's just like, hey, like, are you a decent person? Because sometimes that's the difference in getting the job is you coming off as somebody who's fun to be around, a decent human being. You're flexible, like you understand what time management is. And it's like, oh, if you can just take care of the non-negotiables, control what you can control. Sometimes that's the difference maker.
Yeah, I think that's so well said, and I'm definitely going to steal that now when other people ask me about hockey ops on good traits to have. But, I think, like you said, like being flexible. I've had so many days where, yeah, I'm getting home from a road trip and it's like 4 in the morning, and you're just like, all right, yep, that's I love what I get to do. But and I think kind of what you said about being a decent person, it's also being a good teammate. Like when you have somebody that you're working with, like when they need help with something, it's like, yes, I'm going to drop everything that I'm doing to go help you because I know that you would do that back for
Mhm.
me as well. And I think that obviously you're a part of a team in hockey ops, but I think being a good teammate is an underrated trait too. And I think there's a few times where I've related to something more, James, than when you said like you get mad when other people ask if you did something. Like I feel like I get so pissed off when people are like, "Did you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's my fucking job. Obviously, I did it." So I can definitely relate to that, but it also
Oh,
is like there are times too where people come to me and ask if I did something, and I'm like, oh, maybe once in a while I didn't do it. So it's nice that you have those reminders too. So maybe that's some self learning for me that I could be a little bit more receptive when people ask if I did something. So, but awesome for you to share on that. I think it's so well said, and obviously you have so much experience in hockey ops that wanted to kind of pick your brain on that. And then I've kind of one more question before we kind of get into our Flash Friday and wrap things up. But you talked about the importance of networking earlier on, in the podcast, and I just kind of want to ask you a little bit about kind of your mindset in terms of your networking, because like I hinted at earlier, like so much of it I feel like is talked about in kind of getting your foot in the door with networking, but staying in the door is also equally as important. So what's kind of been your mindset in terms of how you've gone about your networking in your career?
so I'll give you all the evolution of where it started. Like I remember being around because I'm old, like being around when LinkedIn was like created and just being like in college, like this is a joke. This isn't a thing. Like I'm not gonna just be able to just email an executive on a team or just send a thing and hit connect. They're not gonna answer that. There's no way. Now I'm like, oh man. So I used to think like in college, like network was a joke. It was a complete joke. And then you flash forward like 10 years or so, every job I've gotten in sports has been I feel like some form of networking. Like maybe yeah, cool. Maybe my resume was good. Maybe it was like thorough and like I'm like a decent human being and like checked some of those boxes. But NBC Sports was networking with somebody I played flag football with that got me in the door, and I was doing college football for like a day, and then that turned into the rest of the season, and then that ended up getting me into hockey with NBC Sports, and then I did Fantasy Zone with Kay Adams. I knew Kay Adams from NBC Sports, so my interview wasn't really an interview. The guy just was like, "Hey, just wanted to see who you were. And I showed up in a suit, and he made fun of me the entire time. He was just roasting me. He's like, why did you show up in a suit? He's like, you already had the job. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's an interview. He goes, I told you that, but it wasn't. He was in shorts and a t-shirt. And we were just walking around the control room. He brought, and I kid you not, he produces various different things. But I saw him 2 weeks ago when he was producing for the PWHL with the Sirens, and he reminded me of that. He introduced me to someone. He's like, yeah, this guy showed up to an interview wearing a suit for me, and I'm like, why? Like, what? If I didn't show up for a suit for like these front office jobs, I wouldn't get it. I was like, stop telling people that. But it was just everything after that. MLB Network slash NHL Network, since they're owned by the same company in the same building. I got that because I was at NBC, and there was a crossover where my boss at NBC knew the people at MLB Network. And then with the Devils, like I applied for that job, but one of my best friends, who was the team reporter, she put in the word with HR, like, hey, you should definitely interview this person. I can't prove that I wouldn't have gotten my application plucked if she didn't put in that good words. I'm like, I can tangibly see the networking paying off. And even now with this role, I use it every game day when I get to talk to the PR staffs on the other teams. When I get that few seconds with the GMs from the other team, I'll tell you a quick one. The Winnipeg Jets, Kevin Cheveldayoff is their GM. His one of his colleagues that he used to work with, Jack Birch, professor at FAU. I took Jack Birch's class when I was getting my MBA at FAU. When I saw Chevy this year, I was like, hey, you might not remember me, but you did, during the pandemic, you did one of these panels where you stopped in Dr. Birch's class and you spoke to us. I was like, I think you were a little short on time, so we didn't get to do Q&A, or else I would have told you, like, hey, like, I know Weeksy and, like, I know all these other people, and they told me to say hello. And he's like, no way. He's like, I do. Yeah. He's like, obviously, I remember doing that. I was like, yeah, I was in that class. I was like, I just wanted to say thank you for your time in doing that. We end up taking a selfie. He sends it to Dr. Birch being like, hey, I just ran into one of your students from back in the day. And I'm just like, oh, that's all it took was just like, hey, we had this thing once. Now name the face. And I introduced myself formally to him. And I'm like, okay, we've built that rapport. And I'm just like, I take those elevator pitches when I meet with other GMs. And it's like, I have 30 seconds intermission. Let me introduce myself. Hey, how did you get here? And I've done that with Mike Greer in San Jose. I've done that with Kelly McCrimmon in Vegas. I asked for 30 seconds. He gave me like 10 minutes. And it's just like there's different people in the industry who understand that that's how they got there. It's like a lot of it is networking. It's like, yes, you have to get lucky, but it's like just sharing information. And then I look at us three. The reason the three of us are here right now is like Tony Hilliard like introduced me to both of you. And it's like that's the networking thing where it's just like Tony did one of my classes at FAU during the pandemic, and he was just like, hey, if I can ever be a resource, like let me know. And I sent him a LinkedIn request with the note reminding him I was in this class like 10 minutes later. And it's just funny that it's just how things work. When I did one of the talks for his class last year, I showed them that exact LinkedIn message. I was like, listen, I'm going to show you. He told me to do this. I did it. And then I was like, and then he like decided to mentor me, and I'm like, I know so many people, so many more people in this industry because he introduced me to them, and like that's our connection. I'm like, so I can tell you, I know you roll your eyes, and he's like, yeah, they are rolling their eyes right now. I'm like, this networking thing is real, where like you never know where your next job or the opportunity is going to come, or who's going to be if the door opens next to you, if the door is across the country, if you can help your friend or somebody can help you, you just never know where the job is. It's like network, but also like network with intention. Like now, and I remember this whole thing reminds me, Ryan, like glad you're on this because like you and I needed to catch up because like you and I were having like daily, like you and I were having like monthly catch ups, and it was like, okay, season's busy, and then like Ryan, Minnesota, I'm like, I know your season's busy, like we owe catch up, but it's like one of those things where it's like just checking in to see how people are doing, and I try to tell the younger like generation, I don't want anything in these networking things. I'm like genuinely trying to see like, hey, what's the latest? Because then if something opens in New Jersey and you call me, it's like, hey, I can actually speak to your character because I know who you are. And I tell the young kids, I'm like, hey, this intro conversation doesn't need to be a one-off. Just check in. Sometimes it's happy holidays. You don't want anything yet. It's like you don't need to want anything now. It might pay off in 6 months. It might pay off in 6 years. But just like it might be a slow burn, but just continue to like water the plants and like take care and nurture the garden because like eventually like the flowers are gonna bloom and it's gonna be your time to call and be like, oh man, I saw this job in Minnesota with the Gophers. It's like, oh man, I know Ryan. Cool, done. Or like Climate Pledge got something. It's like, let me see if like Ryan can give me the scoop on like if he knows the hiring manager or if like that's a role that I should just completely like stay away from. And it's like people ask me that. I'm like, yeah, based on your background, I don't think you're gonna want this job. Like I'll be completely honest with you. I know the role. It's like if you want to apply, okay, cool. I'll put in a good word for you. But it's just like that's all it is, and it's just like that's the leg up that so many people take with and run with. I remember being hesitant when I applied for the Devils job of like calling everyone and telling people because I had this like ego thing where I was just like, nope, I got to get this on my own. And then it turned out all the people that were going to call knew I was applying anyway. Like Kevin Weeks texted me and he's like, I heard you applied for the Devils job. And I was like, who told you that? He's like, I know everything about the teams I used to play for. And I was like, my bad. I apologize. I was like, listen, it wasn't, I meant to tell you, you're literally one of the names on my references. But I was like, I wanted to see if I can get it on my own. And he was like, don't worry, I put in a good word for you. And then it turns out, like, because I mentioned Ken Danico in one of my interviews, they reached out to Dano and was like, hey, Dano, like, what do you know about him? And I was like, okay, never again. I was like, if I apply for a job, it's like, call and tell all the people in that organization that I know. I'm like, oh, why wouldn't I do this? Because everyone else is calling. Like, hey, my uncle's cousin's niece's dentist. Like use it. If you have an outlet, if you have an in of some kind, it's like use it. Everyone, even people in the organization, because we're owned by multiple, like we have properties under the umbrella HBSC. I'm like, oh, if you see something in Philly, call me. I'll just go down the Rolodex and I'll just email the person. I might have never said a word to them, but they're gonna see at New Jersey Devils and realize, oh, he's in the family. Okay, cool. Let me do him a solid. And I'm like, that's what it is. It's trying to, and I'm still trying to do it myself. Get it where I can call somebody in all 32 teams in the NHL. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now it's like, can I start to do that collegiately? Can I start to do that with the PWHL? Can I do that with the NBA? And it's like, build it so that way if there comes a time where I want to like level up or I have to part ways, it's like, can I call people with the different openings that exist?
Yeah, I love that answer. And, you said a lot of really good, impactful and things that I know our listeners can take out of that. But I mean, I think we talk a lot about how it's a lot about relationship building, but also how you kind of touched on like, you're not, worried about your ego or if you reach out to other people in a job, like, I think that can be sometimes we can kind of get in our own heads of like, oh, I don't want to tell this person that I'm applying or, looking for a job, but it's totally okay to do that. Everybody that works in the industry has been through that situation before. And, a lot of times they want to help you out and see you succeed as well. So really love that answer from you, James, and appreciate you kind of, sharing on that aspect of it as well. Cause I think it's, something we talk about a lot on this podcast, but everybody kind of has their own spin on it. And I appreciate your insight on that. So with that being said, we'll kind of transition towards wrapping things up for the podcast today with our Flash Friday segment. So we do this with all of our guests on the Front Office U Friday episodes. Get to know your personality a little bit, James, away from the Rock whenever you get opportunities to do that, which may be few and far in between. I'll kind of start my first question for you. Just give me your all-time favorite either movie or TV show. You can pick either one, but your all-time favorite that you enjoy watching.
D2, the Mighty Ducks. It's a hot topic in all the group chats of just like I have one of my best friends constantly finds different things on Instagram where people are like, it's the worst movie of the franchise, and I'm like, how dare you? The third one's terrible. The first one's not even realistic. I'm like, the second one, it's Keenan Thompson, the knuckle puck. I'm just like they switched jerseys. I'm like, that's not even real. You can't even do that. But it's so cool, and it's one of those things I remember growing up. I had that on VHS, and there was one weekend where, for whatever reason, I was just like, "Hey, how many times between Friday night and Monday morning going back to school can I watch this movie?" Rewind it back, hit play. My mom thought I was crazy, and she's like, "Why are you doing this?" Like, this is my favorite movie. I'm just gonna watch it all weekend. I'm not gonna watch anything else. And it's to the point now where if I see it on TV or if I play it and someone's in the room and they're just like, "Are you good?" Just like, it's the best part. It's like triple D glove side, anticipate it, and you've got it. And they're just like, why do you know that? It's like, I've seen this movie over 40 times. I was like, this. It was like, it's the greatest movie ever, and it's just lives rent free in my head. The follow up to that of like, and it's also it'd be like my one B Heavyweights, which also has Keenan Thompson, and it also has Goldberg in it, and it's just like, I'm just like, things I just quote in life, like Ben Stiller. It's like, lunch will be canceled due to a lack of hustle. Like, deal with it. Use that every time. Like, we're going over in something. It's like, we're not gonna be able to eat lunch. I'm like, deal with it. It's just quotes to live by.
I love that. And I'm the same way. Like we all have those movies where it's like when it comes on, like you're sitting down, you're watching it and you can recite every line that
Mm-hmm.
happens in the movie before it even happens. So love that answer from you on that. And Ryan, I'll pass it off to you. I know you have some Flash Friday questions of your own here as well.
Oh yes. James, my first question for you is a three-parter. So let's say you are in a hockey shoot around, the home run derby, and a game of horse on the basketball court. Who are those three players that you're going to compete against?
Oh, the hockey shoot around, I'm not gonna lie, and it might be because of my personal relationship with it. Like Marty. I score on Marty, I would never let him live that down. And it's like we have that joking relationship where like he ribs me every chance he gets and I dish it back, and it's like if I ever scored on Marty, I would never let him hear the end of it, and he has to pass my desk to get to his. I would hang a banner that says like, "Hey, at shoot around, I scored on you on this date." I get it framed and then make him sign it. I think for the home run derby, especially growing up in the '90s, like Ken Griffey, like the backwards cap, like I have a pair of Griffeys, and it's just like doing the swing, and it's just like that swing was so pure growing up that it's just like if I ever got to meet him or do a home run derby with him, that'd be fantastic. I think for the game of horse, controversial. My goat is LeBron, so just that would be, that would be cool. I didn't be like LeBron, and he's gonna dunk, and I'm gonna lose. He's just gonna dunk. He's gonna dunk 5 times, and I'm gonna lose. And it's just like no dunks. Like let's make this at least interesting. But it's one of those things where like if I got to play with like my goat, I'd be like, oh, like no brainer.
Oh yeah. What would you say is like a shot that you get a letter off of him?
I think you have to, you kind of have to do like the Steph Curry shot. Like you probably have to go off the court and just heave it from somewhere. And I remember like being like the manager of like the basketball team back in high school, where it's just like, okay, like you're getting all the basketballs before and after, and it's just like, okay, cool. Like, can I hit one of these sitting on the bench? And it's like, okay, cool, you hit one, and like then again we start playing horse. I'm like, okay, cool, I got one. Got one. Now I'm going to sit on the floor and try and like shoot a free throw. It's like I feel like you'd have to go with something like unorthodox in order to get like
Hmm.
an NBA player out, like something like they don't think of. Of course, that's why I didn't pick Steph Curry because I'm like, nope, Steph Curry actively practices those every day. Where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to do this from the player tunnel. I'm like, I don't want to play horse with you. You literally your shots are horse shots that like you make look effortlessly on the court. Whereas LeBron, I'm like, heh, maybe I got a shot if I do one of these ridiculous things.
Hey, that's fair. Maybe you'll get him up maybe up to S. Maybe get him up to S. Uh my final question for you, James, and then I'll pass it off to Ryan, is let's say you want to make your way out to Grand Junction, Colorado. Like just visit it for once in your lifetime. Let's say it's a road trip from New York. What would you say is uh like songs and podcasts that you never want to listen to on that road trip from New York to Grand Junction? Like we always talk about songs that you do want to listen to, but what's something like, let's say you got your buddy on aux, like what's one song or one podcast you never want them to play on that road trip?
So I got the song one. I'll tell you again, hot take. I loathe podcasts. This is like this one's different. It's informational, but like when people are like, "Oh, like I'll listen to like health ones or fitness ones," and it's just like, or just like people who sum up the week, and I'm just like, what can I do with that? I'm like, that bores me. Like, give me an information one where I learn something about the person. It's like a networking thing. Like this is building something, or it's like an audio book. So I'm like, these regular podcasts, I'm like, give me none of them. Like I remember going to Buffalo, one of my friends put on a true crime podcast, and like 20 minutes in, and I think it was something about how many bodies are like actually frozen on Mount Everest. And I was like, this is wildly depressing. Like, what are we doing? Never again. I was like, true crime, I'm out. Anything true crime podcast, I'm like, this is actually not making the drive like go any faster. I'm like actually thinking, my head's spinning, and I'm like, can we just get to the end where they tell me what happened, or can I just Google it? They're like, that's not fun. Like these details are they're destroying me. The one song that's not allowed to play, it's not going to be on the wedding playlist either. It's the Killers, and I'm blanking on
Mr.
the
Brightside?
Mr. Brightside's not allowed like at the wedding. It's one of those things, and I like people know this about me, so everyone's wedding that I've gone to will be dancing Mr. Brightside hits, and I'm just like, I'm out. I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to the bathroom. I just went to the bathroom 2 minutes ago. I just leave. So now I have friends where if they're on the road or if the team's on the road and Mr. Brightside plays, they'll send me clips and be like, James, your favorite song is playing right now. And I'm just like, why do you hate me so much? Like it just drives me crazy. And I think what it is, it's like it's not a bad song. I think that song is played in every single scenario in life. Like the only place I haven't heard Mr. Brightside at is a funeral, but I've heard it everywhere else. It plays at every wedding. Everyone goes berserk. It plays at after parties, pre games, and I'm just like, it's not that good of a song. Like on Spotify, I actually have like that is do not play, don't suggest, don't even hint at it. I don't even want to know that it exists. It's just it. I don't. And I again like radio. I skip it immediately as soon as I hear the da-na-na, nope, nope, hard pass. I just leave the dance floor. My fiance thinks it's the funniest thing ever, and I'm just like I'm not getting up until this song changes. And I don't care who's watching. It doesn't matter. It just I don't understand it. But it's number one. I can't name a second song. If you're like, what's the second song you don't like? There's only one. It's just like don't play that song.
Hey, you don't need one if you have one that's already so impactful.
Oh, it's so popular. That's why I feel bad. I'm like, it's a really popular song that everyone likes. I'm just like, please turn this off. It's miserable.
Well, then I not to hopefully bring up the mood, right? You got another Flash Friday for James.
I actually feel like we got to end it on that. Honestly, I feel like that's a perfect
uh,
way to go. And it's been a ton of fun this conversation, James. Really enjoy. I knew this would be a lot of fun. But for our listeners that have kind of made it all the way through to this point of the podcast, what would be the best way for them to reach out or get in contact with you if they have any follow-up questions of their own?
yeah, I would say my LinkedIn, which is like James Lipscomb. I should be the only one that comes up, but especially if you type in James Lipscomb and New Jersey Devils, like hit me up on LinkedIn. Like I'd say the final piece of advice, especially with the LinkedIn thing, send a message. Don't just hit like connect. And I had to learn that the hard way even like early on. It's just like if you don't know the person, tell them who you are. Just a quick introduction. Hey, here's how I found your information. Get you to the top of the list, believe it or not. Especially, and I remember like Tony Hilliard's the one that told me he did that, and I was like, wait, you do that too? Because I'm like, that's kind of how I am. Where like I got this job, and so many people are like, connect, connect, and I'm like, who are you? Like, just tell me who you are. Like, how can I help you? As opposed to this just being a numbers thing, where it's just like, oh, I just want to say I'm connected to the person. It's like network with intent. But yeah, LinkedIn, I'd say I respond same day, especially now that we're like in the off season and there aren't games where it's not like a 12-hour day and we're kind of in this in between end of season and draft where it's like I probably respond to requests and messages like within a couple hours, which I feel like is stronger than when I send LinkedIn requests to people where like I don't get the thumbs up or the reply within hours. So it's like yeah, I'd like to think I'm readily available. I love giving back and helping people get to where I am and just showing illustrating and telling like, hey, here's how I got here. All this information might not be useful for you, but you might be able to take one or two things and adopt it to yourself. So it's like love giving back because somebody helped me get to where I am. So the least I can do is just open the door for somebody else.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a big reason we started up this podcast is to connect our listeners with people that are, doing it in the industry, want to give back, want to help. And James obviously is a perfect example of that. And we definitely appreciate all of the insight that you've been able to share for us today. So appreciate you for taking the time, James. Thanks again to Ryan for co-hosting this one with me. It's been a ton of fun, and we'll be back again next Friday with a new Front Office U Friday episode. Take care, everybody.